लाइव हूँ यूट्यूब पे। सर हमें यूट्यूब लिंक भेजिए। सर मुझे यूट्यूब का लिंक भेजिए, यूट्यूब का लिंक भेजिए। अरे जो लाइव स्ट्रीम है वो वाली लिंक चाहिए मुझे। मैं चेक कर लूँ ना यूट्यूब पे सही जा रहा है कि नहीं जा रहा है। कर रहे हैं आप? नहीं पक्का हो, वहाँ प्रोस्पेक्टस पड़े उठा लाएंगे, उसमें देख लीजिए। उसमें से तो आएगी। हाँ। अरे उनके स्पीकर, उनके में हेडफोन्स लगाने पड़ेंगे। उनके में स्पीकर लगे हैं ना, उनको हेडफोन्स लगाने पड़ेंगे। आपके पास यूट्यूब वाला लिंक है, दीजिए। किसी के पास नहीं होगा यहाँ, यहाँ किसी के पास नहीं होगा। आपके पास है, कौन से के पास है? लिख लीजिए। हाँ। और वो सीईओ है रोशन गांधी सर, अगर आ रहे हैं तो। वही तो सीईओ है वो। हाँ नहीं नहीं, मैं रोशन गांधी की बात कर रही हूँ, चीफ एग्जीक्यूटिव ऑफिसर। कोई आया था, कर दिया भूपेन सर ने कर दिया। बेटा पानी कहाँ रखा है? पानी कहाँ रखा है? इसको पानी कहाँ रखा She forces us to dream big and strive hard to achieve it. Dreaming and strive to achieve. फिर now we with these words I would like to welcome our attendees. ठीक है? फिर मिस्टर रोशन गांधी सब आएंगे क्या? ये वो मैं पूछा अगर आप लोग तो हाँ होंगे ना। यस सर। सर मैम से पूछिए। मैम आप जाके पूछ के आइए। आप पूछ के आइए तो मैम से आप पूछ के आइए तो मैं जाकर क्लोज करता हूँ वीडियो। वो हम फोन कर रहे हैं आपको। किसको? आपको पूछने के बाद। फोन बोलना है क्या नहीं करना है? सर आप क्या कैसी बात करते हैं? क्या चल के फिर मैं रख जल्दी पूछ के अभी रुक जाओ बेटा आपको यूट्यूब पे आवाज़ नहीं जा रही आई गेस।
may no longer be to write a letter to the editor or to publish a book. It may simply be to stand up and say something, because both words and the passion with which they are delivered can now spread across the world at a warp speed. That's the power of powerful words. We welcome in our midst Dr. Sunita Gandhi, the lady who dons several hats and each one with elan and grace. Dr. Sunita Gandhi is an educationist, the vice chairperson of the India Literacy Board, a former economist at the World Bank. She is the founder of the Council for Global Education, USA, and also the founder of the Global Dream Movement for Literacy. She is a PhD from Cambridge University, UK, and a proud alumna of CMS. Ma'am is also a TED speaker. So now I'm sure you all agree with me when I say that ma'am dons innumerable hats, and that too with grace and elan, and may I add, seamlessly. Thank you so much, ma'am, for accepting our invite and being here with us this evening. When I think of expressing gratitude, I feel so blessed that we are fortunate in innumerable ways. We have the blessings of our founders, respected Dr. Jagdish Gandhi and Dr. Mrs. Bharti Gandhi. We receive the much needed impetus from our President and Managing Director, Professor Geeta Gandhi Kington, as well as our young and dynamic CEO, Mr. Roshan Gandhi. We garner immense motivation from our superior principal and head of the Center for School Improvement, Ms. Sushmita Basu. We share a brilliant camaraderie with all the principals of CMS, like a big circle of friends together in every endeavor. And most importantly, we are constantly guided by our iconic senior principal, Ma'am Manjeet Batra. Truly, isn't there so much to be grateful for? So today, 13 students from all the ISC campuses of CMS will be opening up their hearts to you all. They will speak on issues they hold very dear to their hearts and are also very passionate about. Each of the topics have been selected by themselves because it is of their own choice. In their deliberations, you will find your story, maybe my story, your experience, my experience, your thoughts, my thoughts. They are here to freely let their thoughts and expressions flow, inspiring so many of us. After all, someone's story is another man's inspiration. So let's witness our 13 mind-boggling millennials of CMS elegantly and eloquently expressing their thoughts. Their talks don't invite deliberation or debate. They don't demand immersion or background reading. They are capsules of knowledge and come straight from the heart. So, dear audience, let me not stand between you and the young enthusiasts. I hope you enjoy the evening and also find a bit of yourself resonating with the words of these vivacious speakers. Thank you and Jai Jagat.
Thank you, ma'am. You gave a positive start to the event, being optimistic and effective every time. Our most respected founder manager, Dr. Jagdish Gandhi, has always aimed at creating a new mindset through education. It would not have been possible for us to have this event without you, sir. So, truly, your charisma and personality is beyond my words and introduction. So, without any more delay, I would like to invite Sir to speak few words. Sir, I would like to invite you to please speak few words.
Amishi, we've just got to know Sir is joining us in just a couple of seconds.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for telling us. I'm sure our audience would really be eager to hear them. Now we have Sir amongst us with most awaited.
I would like to congratulate the members of the TED Ed Club for this club to preparing them for good speech. And every child is becoming a good speaker, and that is very, very important in life. Because speech is what you can make your personality, whatever you are doing through your speech, you can come to the people and you can come to the notice of the people that what you are doing in your life. So this speech only can make you what you want to become. And this speech is very, very important. And the Chat Ed Club will, I am sure, will encourage you to cogent speeches and learn how to speak and before the audience and flawlessly you have to speak. So I'm sure that this Chat Ed Club will give a lot of encouragement to give good speeches. With words, I thank the organizers, respected Ms. Manjeet Batra Didi, and respected Sangeeta Banerjee Didi, and all the teachers who are encouraging children to join this Ed Club. My congratulations and good wishes are with each and every child who has participated in Ed Club. God bless you.
Thank you, sir. We are truly indebted for the values and knowledge which you keep imparting. Your fervor and zeal is truly unmatched. Thank you, sir. Famous Healy once said, and I quote, "If we have the words, there is always a chance that we'll find the way." Unquote. Ted believes passionately that ideas have the power to change attitudes, lives, and ultimately the world. TED its TED's youth and educational initiative with the mission to sparkle and celebrate the ideas of teachers as well as students. TED Talks definitely open to interpretation, provoke further conversation, and enhance the potential to be creative and broaden our horizon. Therefore, keep your best wishes close to your heart and watch what happens next. I request Sir to please present a video. Thank you so much, sir. Now I would like to request and invite my friend Ananya to in, to welcome our most respected guest speaker for today.
Good evening and Jai Jagat, everyone. I am here to introduce the guest speaker for the day, Dr. Sunita Gandhi, who has accepted our invitation very kindly and graced the event with her presence. Ma'am is a dedicated educationist and a vice chair for the India Literacy Board. She is a former economist for the World Bank and the founder of the Council for Global Education, USA. Ma'am Sunita Gandhi holds a PhD from the University of Cambridge, UK, and is an alumna of City Montessori School. She is also the leading founder for the Global Dream of Literacy, a literacy campaign which is an initiative of non-profit Devi Sansthan. I would now like to invite you, ma'am, for your address.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Dear friends, colleagues, eminent guests, the senior principal, the most respected Ma'am Manjeet Batra, the principal respected Ma'am Sangeeta Banerjee, the hardworking and creative teachers of Gomti Nagar-II and the Cambridge section, superior principal Ma'am Sushmita Basu, respected principals of other campuses, dear parents, and the most important young people, that is you, representing your campuses today in the TED Ed Club talks hosted by City Montessori School, Gomti Nagar, Campus 2. We are most looking forward to listening to your zealously crafted accounts of those matters that interest you, that you are passionate about, that capture your curiosity, and that inspire you. Children, today is your day. We are all here in honor of you to hear your well thought out discourses on diverse subjects. Today, you are going to go back with some learning too. They will be learning for everyone, and I'm looking forward to my own learning and being inspired by you. From every opportunity, such as today, we learn to grow stronger and better versions of our previous selves. In life, competition is never with others. It is always with ourselves and ourselves alone. Life presents us a myriad opportunities for growth. Growth comes after each opportunity and especially after each failure. City Montessori School is a school that aspires to the highest standards for its children, simple living and high-mindedness. And I'm delighted to be present here today amidst you as a former student of City Montessori School. All my early education took place here at CMS. When you learn to work hard and face challenges at a young age, it prepares you for a lifetime of winning habits and attitudes that open doors and keep you rising. These are the qualities that we learn from our parents and from our schools in the early years. These helped me to qualify in one of the world's toughest competitions to enter Cambridge University on 3 full merit-based scholarships. I studied physics. Thank you. Later, I qualified in the Young Professionals Program at the World Bank, another daunting task, and became an economist. So from physicist, I turned into an economist. You will do the same. You will find many versions of yourself along the way. And for me, further along the way, I quit the world's best job, the World Bank, to come back to India and decided to follow my own calling for making an even bigger difference by working on literacy of the masses and at the same time serving my dear parents. There are many struggles and challenges when you chart out your own path. But it is any time better that you follow your own dreams than you become a manager or a job seeker. It is any time better, and I hope you will agree with me, that to be a job provider and to fulfill the dreams of not only your family and workers, but also those well beyond. It is what we put our passions into that matters the most. Or we put it another way, whatever we end up doing, even in a job, if we do it with passion and commitment, this gives us wings and the possibility to make a massive difference. There are so many things we can be passionate about. It is very important to find a problem that you want to solve, that you can be passionate about. We need to find our own calling. My calling has been to provide underprivileged people the opportunity to become literate. The problem I'm attempting to solve is of widespread illiteracy. India has the largest number of illiterate people in the world. In fact, nearly 40% of the world's illiterate live in India. After the COVID, some 80% of the children in classes 1 through 5 are functionally illiterate. They cannot read or write. Grade 5 children. Even before the COVID, only 50%, half of grade 5 children could read or write at grade 2 level. How do you solve such a massive problem? How do you solve such a massive problem? Well, just begin. Just begin. Beginning has power in it. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step, goes a Chinese proverb. No one is going to give you a laundry list of problems that you can go and solve. You need to find a problem. It is not about solving problems that others give to you. It is about finding the problems that you want to solve. Once you find a problem, then you can begin to solve it. The quality of the problem is important. And then comes the quality of the solution that you come up with. With each problem you solve, you create value for society. And that can become the main objective of your life's strivings. Here, I salute the teachers and the school heads that have nurtured your potential into preparing you for such challenges as today's TED-Ed Club Talk. You'll face many more challenges, and you'll do so with confidence because your teachers have provided you the best kind of preparation you can ever imagine. Financial returns are a byproduct of your endeavors. If you focus only on financial gain, chances are you're not going to be highly successful. Or worse still, you will not be able to follow your own life's passions. Failures are normal. Failures are normal. A necessary step before every success, and success that comes knocking. Ask anyone who has succeeded. Learn from those failures, but never, ever, ever give up. Another principle, stay always positive. Be an optimist. There are lots of cynics around you, but an optimist always gives out positive energy. So I can conclude by saying, compete with yourself, not others. Find a passion that solves a world's problem and provides value to society. Stay always positive. And just one more last mantra. Zid karo, dunya badlo. Insist and change the world. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. It was indeed
Zid
very
karo,
inspiring.
dunya badlo. Thank you so much.
It was indeed very inspiring, and you definitely left a significant impression on all of us. We promise to grasp all the knowledge we can from this session. Now over to Amishi for the main proceedings of the event.
Thank you, Ananya. Gender stereotype is a widely held belief or generalization about behavior and characteristics attributed to women and men. Females are often portrayed as being emotional, caring, or in need of protection, whereas males are often characterized as being rational, career-driven, and strong. These assumptions can be negative and seemingly benign. So, to speak about gender stereotype, we have Udisha Tiwari from Gomti Nagar, Campus 2.
No matter how cliche it may sound or how uncomfortable it makes you, let's talk about gender stereotypes today. Women have never been treated as real human beings. They are either good or bad, either goddesses or witches, either active or passive, either self-sacrificing or a radical, non-conservative feminist. Tennyson once said, and I quote, "Man for the field and women for the hearth. Man to command and women to obey, all else confusion." Unquote. This is the basic ideology, the basic governing factor of our society. If we talk about careers, women have been destined for certain careers. So it wasn't astonishing the other day when my sister said she wanted to be a travel blogger and my mother told her to be less reckless. The day I decided to take up mathematics in my higher grades, my father was skeptical if I was capable enough to score well. We had a heated discussion on what career options I may have and how well suited they are for a girl. Now, in my opinion, the possible reason for all these doubts and denials is the fact that our society lacks confidence in women's abilities to compete in fields that men are hackneyed to perform better in. To all those beliefs which hold women back in the workplace. Also, to those women who feel less privileged to be feminine, let me ask this. Wasn't it just yesterday when the Indian women hockey team tackled all the odds, silenced all the naysayers, ignored all the critics and overcame? Wasn't it the weak, emotional, fragile women of Madhya Pradesh declared the first female combat pilot to serve the nation? Why can't we admit the fact that today's women are excelling in every field? Not only are they shattering age-old patriarchal norms, but also forming new narratives for the future generations to get inspired from. Decades of research show unequivocally that men and women are equal in general intelligence. Yet, women often shy away from certain professions. Why? Because they are the victims of ideologies that women do not think beyond certain patterns. These stereotypes restrict women's success and kill their pursuit to find an identity for themselves. I do not deny the fact that we've come a long way from the Victorian double standards towards attaining gender equality. But let me assert in front of you the ground reality. The global labor participation rate for women is close to 49%. For the men, it is 75%. Now that is a gaping difference of 26 percentage points. Sometimes these stereotypes make me question my own future. I sit back with my friends to discuss what career options we wish to pursue, but our conversations, they hover around age-prevalent conventions. In the end, I would just like to assert categorically that no matter how difficult the ideologies make it for me, no matter in how many ways you try to clip my wings, no matter how very unconventional I may sound to you, in the end, the sky is my only limit, I know it, and I will leave no stone unturned to reach it. Thank you.
Thank you, Disha. Indeed, the sky is our only limit. Coming up, mental health is a state of well-being in which the individual realizes his or her own abilities, can cope with normal stresses of life, and can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to contribute to his or her community. So, to tell us about how to balance mental health, we have Tuba Khan from Station Road campus.
We all go through difficulties in life, failures, severe health issues, death of a loved one, and countless other scenarios. Not to forget the ongoing pandemic which has hit across the globe. Going through these situations is never easy. Sometimes one just wants to give up and throw his hands up in silent resignation. It's easy to see why. These are all painful situations that hit at our very core as human beings. But often, when you look back, you realize that those tough times didn't break you and didn't even last longer. In fact, they did more to you than success or good times ever could do. There's a reason why they say that tough times do not last longer, but tough people do. It's because when you don't give up and you don't relent, you come out a way more stronger and more resilient person. The studies and findings suggest that mental health is the ability to alter the perception of stress regardless of sensation. Now, let me ask you all one question. What makes you gravitate towards others more than certain people? Next time, when you meet such a person, watch them closely. They are mentally very strong people. They can laugh at themselves with others. They have lasting and satisfying personal relationships, and they never get overwhelmed by emotions like stress, anger, or fear. Now, I just want to end my talk on few lines. There is a voice inside of us that whispers all day long. I know that this is right for me, I feel that this is wrong. So remember that the voice inside you is the best coach of life, which will help you win the battle called life. Thank you so much for your patient hearing.
Thank you, Tuba. Indeed, tough times do not last. Tough people do. Your every word was right. Imagine this. The person sitting beside you is experiencing time slower than you. This sounds far-fetched, right? Let me break your bubble. It isn't. This is the right time to speak about time dilation, an overwhelming, rather and thrilling physics phenomena. So, to tell us about it, we have Yahya Ashraf from Cambridge section. Dismiss the concept of time being absolute.
So I wanted to start this talk with a question. What is time? Even though we might not be able to answer this question precisely, but we have a certain understanding of time. We think that time runs at the same pace for everyone. Time running for you or time running for me is same. But what if I were to tell you that time does not run at the same pace for everyone? Time is not absolute. In 1687, Sir Isaac Newton came up with this revolutionary book, Principia Mathematica, in which he stated time is absolute. But is it a short answer? No. Time is not absolute. Time is not the intrinsic property of a universe. Time is not fundamental. Now, before you call my claims unsubstantiated, I want you to look at a thought experiment. I want you to look at light clocks. Now, of course, you might ask, what is a light clock? Well, a light clock is a contraption of two mirrors between which a beam of light is fired. Every time the beam of light is fired, it goes up, hits the top, and returns to its initial position. Whenever the beam of light returns to its initial position, we can say a second has passed. Now, it's really important for us to realize that a light clock works just like any other type of clock. So any end result which we will obtain from a light clock will also apply to any other clock. So now, since we have got that out of the way, I want you to imagine that I have this light clock and I am moving with it. Now, I want you to look at the trajectory the beam of light will follow. So when I'm moving, the beam of light would go diagonally up and diagonally down. When it was stationary, it would go vertically up and vertically down. Now, since we had certified earlier in the talk that for a second to pass, the beam of light has to return to its initial position. So since it's going diagonally, it will take longer to return to its initial position relative to the stationary clock. So what does it show us? It shows us that different observers in different states of motion experience different realities. It shows us that time is inversely proportional to your speed. Now, this is a scientifically certified fact. It was first formulated by Albert Einstein in his research paper on electrodynamics of moving objects. Einstein, through his theory of relativity, showed us that time is not absolute. He showed us that time is relative. Physicists, astronomers, GPS companies, space exploration companies use this phenomena time dilation. It's a part of our lives. We just don't experience it because we don't travel fast enough to see any visible effect. But what I really want to show with this talk is that our understanding of time, of it running at the same pace for everyone, is not really very right. Time is not absolute. Time is relative. Thank you.
Thank you, Yaya Ashraf. You definitely cleared a few concepts of time. If you know yourself, you will be able to know the world around you. It is a fact that how knowing and accepting yourself as who you are is the key to wisdom and unparalleled content. So, to tell us about the sojourn from self-doubt to self-acceptance, we have Kritika Singh from Chalk Campus.
Our culture today is obsessively focused on unrealistically positive expectations. Be happier, be healthier, be the best, better than the rest. Be smarter, faster, richer, more popular, more productive, more envied, and more admirable. But when you stop and really think about it, all the conventional life advice and all the positive and happy self-help stuff we hear all the time is actually just fixating on what we lack. It focuses on what we consider as our personal shortcomings and failures and reflects them on us. I mean, you learn about the best ways of making money because you feel like you don't have enough already. You stand in front of the mirror and repeat affirmations saying that you're beautiful because you feel like you aren't beautiful already. There's a saying in Texas, the smallest dog barks the loudest. A confident person doesn't feel the need to show that he or she is confident. Similarly, a rich person doesn't feel the need to show anybody that he or she is rich. Either you are or you're not. And if you're constantly dreaming about something all the time, then you're just reinforcing that same unconscious reality over and over again, that you're not already what you wish to be. Now here's the problem. Our society today, through the wonders of communication culture and, hey, look, my life is cooler than yours, social media, has bred a whole generation of people who believe that having these negative experiences such as failure, anxiety, or guilt is totally not all right. I mean, if you look at your Instagram feed right now, everybody there is having a grand old time. And then it's impossible not to think that something is wrong with you. And then you sitting alone and Googling something like how to be happy just makes the situation worse. Because pursuing something only reinforces the fact that you lack it in the first place. Now, for example, the more you want to be rich, the poorer and unworthy you feel, regardless of the amount of money you actually make. The more you want to be good looking and desired, the uglier you come to see yourself, regardless of your actual physical appearance. But here's what's interesting about all of this. As I've said, if pursuing the positive is a negative, then pursuing the negative automatically generates positive, right? Okay, confusing? Anyway, I'll explain. Being more open about your insecurities paradoxically makes you more confident and charismatic around others. Because you see, you can be a life-changing presence for someone only and only if you're daring enough to work out on your own insecurities and vulnerabilities and pay absolutely no heed, even if you're made the butt end of ridicule. Now, in the end, I would just like to quote that there's nothing more genuine than breaking out of the chorus just to hear the sound of your own voice. Unquote. Thank you.
Thank you, Kritika. I'm sure our audience would remember the smallest dog barks the loudest. Over to Prerna ma'am.
Good evening and Jai Jagat, everybody. Turn on the light within, expand horizons, and reach the full potential. This is what TED demands, and our students deliver. Oh, I should take this liberty and call them young adults. Gender stereotype, mental health, concept of time, self-doubt, self-acceptance. Wow. Beyond praise is your conviction, your opinion, and your judgment. Ma'am Sunita Gandhi, I would like to know your perspective on the topics picked up by our students, which tell a lot about their cognitive as well as panoramic development. Ma'am, over to you.
This has been absolutely delightful to hear these four young people from four different campuses. That is Odisha Tiwari from Gomti Nagar-II, Tuba Khan from Station Road, Yahya Ashraf from Cambridge section, and Kratika Singh from Chalk campus. We've gone from the soft side of feelings and emotions to the hardcore science of relativity and theory of relativity. I think these kids have done a marvelous job. These young people, I should say, they're not kids anymore, have done a marvelous job. Their views are so well formed and they're so well informed, and their passion is quite evident. I liked the gender stereotypes by Odisha, man to command, woman to follow. Well, we need to get out of those stereotypes for sure. Failures in Life about mental health by Tuba Khan, a very grave, difficult subject that she handled at a young age. But she had great messages like tough times shouldn't break you. The voice inside you is the best guide. So is time absolute? Well, I mean, Principia Mathematica, the theory of relativity, time is not absolute, the time is relative. In fact, you can live 1,000 days in one day and live 1,000 days and not even pass a moment. So that is the theory of relativity and time, and I think it's beautiful how it has been taken up as a difficult topic by Yahya Ashraf, and congratulate him for this beautiful presentation. Similarly for Kratika Singh, going from self-doubt to self-acceptance, and I think that's critical at this point in time in the context of social media and other influences where we may gauge our worth by the likes on the social media. And I really like the fact that she also mentioned that the richer you want to be, the poorer you will feel, and so many other comparisons she made. And this also ties in with Yahya's theory of relativity. It's all about being relative. Nobody's happy if they're not going to the next level of richness and see somebody's richer than you, they feel discouraged. So I learned a lot today. Thank you for these four fantastic, fantastic presentations.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Just one more question from you. Don't you think that this particular perspective which the students have, does it not exhibit our philosophies and our ideologies as a school to which they are knowingly or unknowingly being exposed?
Well, obviously, we are a product of our environment. The environment enriches us in different ways. Opportunities like this, like speaking for TED-Ed, obviously gets the students to work towards a different set of goals than just bookish knowledge. So I do feel that CMS provides those opportunities that enrich the children and the young people in a myriad ways. It's a stimulating learning environment which creates umpteen opportunities for the mind to grow. And I think that's what we are accomplishing here. There's no doubt about what you just said. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Over to
Thank you, ma'am. Coming up next, as Tony Robbins says, energy flows where attention goes. To get what you really want in life, you need a clear goal that has purpose and meaning behind it. Once this is in place, you can focus your energy on the goal and become passionate about it.
That's the secret of how energy flows where attention goes and how to battle inferiority complex. So here is Divyanshi Agarwal from Nagar Campus 1 to throw some light on the topic.
Ever felt that you're not good enough? Ever felt that how can anyone choose me? Ever felt a pang of jealousy towards a person? Well, I'm here to talk about this very condition called the inferiority complex. That is a basic feeling of insecurity because of actual or imagined psychological or physical deficiency. Right, it is also called low self-esteem. Why am I bothering to discuss this common issue now? I'll tell you why. Because of its disastrous impacts, like aggression, bullying, victimizing, social media bullying, violence, and posting of sad reels, memes, images, and stuff like that, and especially withdrawal from your family, friends, social life, and vanity. That is condescending, rude behavior. So you see, inferiority is causing two things. Either you're becoming weak and fearful like an ant, or you're developing the inferiority that is superiority complex. Yes, they're two peas in a pod. That's right. So you become condescending towards people. Now, why does it happen, you ask me? It happens because of your choices. We are choosing to believe in the negative things, that yes, they're better than us because they know something I don't, we don't. Stuff like that, right? So, what is this? This is exactly what is explained in energy psychology, a collection of mind-body approaches. Now, I can say that I am a swimmer and I do not know how to cook, but I know a cook. So I start saying, you don't know how to do this, you don't know how to do a brushstroke. In words, I'm thinking, why can't I have that skill? So you see right there, economists are very right. Our wants are unlimited. We always want what we don't have. So how to escape this? We should understand that energy flows where the attention goes. We should understand that there is our skill and then there is another person's skill. How to understand that? By understanding this karma, law of attraction, and the book Secret by Rhonda Byrne all says that if you believe in the negative things, our prefrontal cortex, it perceives the negative things and negative energy flows out of us. Energy flows where attention goes. How to tackle it now? I say find your skill using SWOT analysis method. Strength, weakness, opportunity, threats. You find that and you find your skill. You practice SOS of thoughts. You should stop to think. You should observe what you are thinking. And you should immediately switch to positive thoughts. And my personal favorite, meme, instead of meme. That is, practice meme. Meditation, exercise, music, and yoga. Let the positive energy flow through you. Let you believe in yourself. Stop condescending people. Because universe made you special for a reason. So find that one reason and work your way up. Because energy flows where the attention goes. So make sure it's where you truly want.
Truly said by Divyanshi that energy flows where attention goes. Thank you so much for this enlightening TED Talk on inferiority complex. Coming up next, they say the 21st century is the century of science and technology. Today, we do almost all our work with the help of machines. In modern times, the clean growth of a nation cannot be imagined without science and technology. It is also something which inspires us daily. So here we have Kavya Trivedi from Nagar campus to enumerate on the magic of science and technology.
The word magic sometimes remains restricted to a mere illusion, and sometimes to that which is momentary or which is brought to happen for the pleasure of one. But science, it is something beyond magical. It is the God-given ability to understand and assist humankind to have a better life. The debate is not whether one should believe in God or science. Rather, the prudence lies in accepting that the Creator has brought into existence His creation to allow science and technology to develop their various facets to explore the vastness of His majesty. It is just magical to witness how science has been successful in helping the impaired of sight, limbs and arms, and weak of heart to see and walk again, and with prosthetic arms do things which otherwise would have been impossible to do. It is nothing less than a miracle for them to be able to do this, isn't it? Well, to define the magic of science, it is essential for us to understand as to how it can be used to bring about a paradigm shift in the furtherance of societies and mankind in large, and not to constrain it within the boundaries of a society. Technology enables a person sitting in the surroundings of his home to virtually visit not only places known or near to him or her, but even beyond boundaries and horizons unimagined. A country's growth is always measured with the advancement it has made in its science and inventions. It is unfortunate for the boon of science to be counted as an antagonist by a few ignorant minds when the extent of its potential still lies unexplored and untapped. Thank you.
We completely agree with you, Kavya, that the 21st century is the century of science and technology. Thank you so much for this much needed TED Talk. Coming up next, the emergence of language was a defining moment in the evolution of modern humans. It was an innovation that changed radically the character of human society. There are various theories which argue as to why a language evolution occurred and why did it happen only in the brains of the sapiens. Well, after carefully observing all these theories, we have Tanya Mishra from Mahanagar campus to elaborate on the subject.
Once upon a time, there was a sapien in the cognitive era who thought that it would be better if he carried home water in a pitcher. Soon he realized that he could not do so without actually spilling all the water, and so he decided to take the help of another sapien. This expression of the need of help brings us to the story behind language evolution. In the cognitive era, sapiens did amazing things which made researchers believe that it was probably due to the development in the cognitive abilities of the sapiens, learning, remembering, and communicating. But it also brought forth many questions. How did the change take place? And why were only sapiens the subject of this change? Well, there are many theories, but according to the most commonly accepted one, there was perhaps a genetic mutation inside the brains of the Homo sapiens, which was probably just a matter of pure chance. With time, as the sapiens got involved in a variety of situations, their needs changed. Now the need was not just for food or water, but rather more food, good food, and clean water. Even the pitcher man decided that he should carry home not one, but 2 pitchers. And so because of this development in the ability of language, sapiens were able to communicate their needs with each other. Soon the pitcher man realized that he had 2 people whom he could rely on without having to worry about them stealing his pitchers. Thus, a bond of trust was formed between these 2 communities. And believe me, the reason why societies are able to thrive even today is because of the sapiens' this ability to form strong social bonds. But I want you to ponder upon something. Was the expression of needs the only reason why language evolution took place? Probably not. A second theory suggests that language evolved as a means of gossiping. It seems like a joke, I know, but there are so many researchers who believe this theory that it is hard to make it sound ridiculous. But gossiping comes with its own cons. Consider the pitcher man. He came to know that there is a man who has been eyeing his pitchers for quite some time. So he decided to keep his distance from him. This other man also came to know from his friends, he just heard from his friends, that the pitcher man was a stingy guy. And so he decided that he did not want to have any relations with him. What was the result of all this? Unlike any fairy tale ending, these 2 people separately lived happily ever after. Through the story of the pitcher man, we can understand that with time, as the sapiens got better with their power of expression, they began to think differently and created their own plethora of beliefs and theories. Even then, there is possibility of finding such evidences which might change the course of these theories. Until then, the question of language evolution continues to remain one of the most mysterious stories of the human civilization. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sanya, for the stimulating talk on language evolution. The need for expression is definitely one of the reasons for the language evolution. Coming up next, the origin of intelligent life. Every manifestation of it has been in a constant search for something. And it's not some fantastical secret or treasure. It is the simple feeling of happiness. Throughout the millennia of evolution, the one thing that has remained constant has been the search for happiness, for pleasure, for satisfaction in one's existence. The center of it all, dopamine. Here we have Amar Safvi from Rajendra Nagar campus to tell us more about the same.
Ever since human beings realized that walking on two legs is a feasible solution to the problem of transportation, we've been looking to quantify everything we see into a simple explanation. That is what the basis of science is, after all, isn't it? A way to quantify, a way to explain everything, the various phenomena we see around us in everyday life. We started off ambitiously by trying to chalk up the wildfires to literal godly mood swings. But then we realized that we could make fire ourselves by striking two rocks together, and suddenly we were ready to leave the gods themselves behind. Nowadays, we read two articles on our GPS-laden smartphones, and we start to believe that Bill Gates is trying to implant us with microchips through vaccines. We read another article, and we begin to believe that the earth is flat. And such is the case with dopamine. Out of the over 100 chemicals present in the human brain, in the chemical-laden human brain, the one name that pops up the most frequently is that of dopamine. Dopamine is love, dopamine is affection, dopamine is motivation, dopamine is addiction, dopamine is feminism. My goodness, dopamine has been busy. But the thing is that, all of these, dopamine is none of these. It has something to do with these, but the fact is that it is none of these. Call it the Bitcoin of biology, because one might know nothing of biology, but ask them about dopamine and they will launch into a speech about how it affects every aspect of human life. Literal 19-year-olds telling us how to beat alcohol addiction simply by ceasing to use Twitter for the next 21 days. So this begs the question, what exactly is dopamine? Dopamine is a neurotransmitter. It is a simple chemical which transmits signals from one neuron, that is one brain cell, to another brain cell through the gap between them that is known as the synapse. Now this all might sound a bit too simple or a bit too complex, to be honest, but when you look at it considering the fact that there are 86 billion neurons in the human brain, then it is that you begin to comprehend what it is exactly that I am talking about. Now the effect of dopamine, whether positive or negative, depends upon which part of the brain it has originated from, what kind of neurons are receiving that signal, and where those neurons are headed. So for instance, when we talk about motivation and affection, basically feelings which lead to positive effects, we talk about dopamine that has originated in the mesolimbic pathway. In another part of the brain, dopamine is responsible for displaying symptoms of Parkinson's disease. In another part of the body, better yet, dopamine is responsible for motor functions, for renal functions, and for cardiac functions. So it might seem that by focusing on the complexity of this chemical, I am trying to strip it of the glamour that is generally associated with it by the aforementioned influencers and whatnot. But on the contrary, I actually believe that this complexity, the complexity of this single molecule along with its receptors, is exactly what makes it so beautiful. So many neurons forming billions of collections, all just so that you can walk, talk, eat, make the sheer number of connections from the eyes to the brain required to just understand what it is that I'm saying, all the while wondering why the slide behind me looks like a unicorn threw up on it. So ladies and gentlemen, understand that dopamine does have something to do with affection. It has something to do with love. It has something to do with addiction, whether to alcohol or to cake. It has something to do with focus. It has something to do with psychosis. It has something to do with even basic movement. But it is none of these things. It is a complex thing, and we cannot begin to understand it. We pay so much attention, we pay so much heed to explore the inexplicable wonders of the universe, and so we tend to overlook the most inexplicable wonder of them all, that is the human brain. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amar, on this illuminating talk on the neurotransmitter dopamine. Over to Prerna, ma'am.
Ma'am, I'm back with just two more questions for you. Sunita Gandhi, ma'am, you yourself have been a TED speaker. You have been to places like Mumbai for the same. Please tell us about the spade work involved, your journey with TED till now, and the aftermath.
Okay, that's an interesting personal question. I was preparing a summary for these wonderful four speakers, and I'd say that it connects to one of the speakers who spoke from Gomti Nagar-I, Divyanshi Agarwal, The Secret. And I think this is by Rhonda Byrne, I think it is her name, from Australia. And she has done all her research work, she and her colleagues, that have proven that the world is like a big genie. So you know what happens with the genie? You go rub the genie, and the genie comes out and says, your wish, my command. The person says, well, my wish is to get a bicycle. So the genie says, your wish, my command, you'll get a bicycle. So if you believe enough in your dreams, the theory goes, and what Rhonda has shown is that that wish comes true. So the journey towards TED was not really, I have always been looking at opportunities to grow the work that I'm doing with literacy, to get people to know about this work, to have 1 million people join forces with me across the world and make this possible. So obviously TED Talk is a step in the right direction. And I got approached initially by TEDx from Mumbai, Gateway, TEDx Gateway. And for some reason, I was not able to find the right time to take that one up. In a particular year, I was traveling to the US that year. And then came the invite from TED. So my journey there was basically, to figure out a way to make an impact through TED. And I did go to Mumbai. I did go and make the presentation. It involved a lot of different people, buying along your ideas for change and feeling that you are deserving of being the person who can talk about that particular change. It involved a lot of mental preparation. It involved liaising with the people there. So at the last minute, they changed my presentation quite dramatically. And they asked me to also do it in Hindi because it's the Shah Rukh Khan version of the TED Talks. And that goes internationally as well. So anyway, this is all that took place. And then lo and behold, there were some technical issues. So mine is still on waiting list to come out. And I'm waiting for it to come out one day. So I think that they are remolding things, and I might be invited to New York now to present it there because the set changes and so many other changes are involved. So I'm looking forward to that day and to make this even bigger this next time. If it's New York, it means a lot.
Wow, ma'am. All the best to you. One last question for you, ma'am. This is my last question. I just wanted to know that people say that creativity is as important as literacy. What do you think? What's your perspective on creativity and the significance of creativity?
Okay, so our minds are programmed to be creative. From the moment we are born, we seek solutions to our problems. So we cry when we need milk. When we see disorder, we cry. And that's, a human nature to find solutions. So the presentation, I think it was by Tanya about emergence of language. Obviously that was a creative endeavor by the early human being, the Homo sapien. And we also know from works of, like, for example, I'm trying to recall the person who did the experiment with the pigeons. And showed that pigeons can actually have cognitive powers. The work with the chimpanzees, that was it Lawrence Kohlberg who did that work. So we find that a lot of creativity is in our human mind, and creativity comes from the interaction of elements in our environment. So we see a need and we become creative. You don't become creative by in of itself. So if there's a need, then you start to think of its solutions. And I think this is something I alluded to in my own presentation, that we need to look around. What is a need that we can solve? And therefore we become connected to that solution, and we use our passion to make this, whatever it is, need be solved or circumvented. And I think literacy and creativity go together, because there are many aspects to literacy that are not solved. So it brings in the creative mind. How do I go about doing it? How do you tackle a very difficult problem, a perpetual problem that for years and centuries has held us back? Our children are not learning to read in the schools. I mean, that's a major problem. But why is it not happening? So one comes up with a lot of creative ideas. You try those ideas and see which is working. And in the doing of or implementing of those ideas, we find we become even more creative. So I think creativity feeds on creativity, and we are born to be creative.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. Over to Ananya.
Our next speaker for this event is Sarah Khan. Now, immunization is an indisputable human right, a global health and development success story saving millions of lives every year. Vaccines are critical to the prevention and control of infectious disease outbreaks. They underpin global health security and will be a vital tool in the battle against antimicrobial resistance. So here is Sarah from Arshafabad to talk about vaccines and the significant role they have in our lives.
Today, I'm present here to talk about vaccines. Coming to what actually a vaccine is. Vaccine is the suspension of microorganisms that provide active immunity to our body to fight against diseases. Coming forward to the actual importance of vaccine, the first one is that it prevents us from dangerous diseases, a very common point which we all go through and know it. It protects us from epidemics. Epidemics have a great impact on our country. Thus, vaccination has been very important in case of epidemics. We see that in many epidemics, like we went to swine flu and many of them, and such of COVID-19, vaccination plays a very important role. Next up is the list of vaccinations which we include. One such is the toxoid vaccine, the live attenuated vaccine, the inactivated vaccine, nucleic acid-based vaccine, and many more. Further explaining some of them, we have the toxoid vaccine. Toxoid vaccines include a specific toxin of the harmful product, which provides the body with immunity and fights with the same germ that prevents that disease. One such example is the diphtheria tetanus. Next up is the inactivated vaccines. Inactivated vaccines use the kill form of the germs which protect us from that disease. It do not provide immunity to our body, but yes, we need booster shots to get one. Such cases are polio, flu, and etc. Coming forward, we have the mRNA vaccines. mRNA vaccines provide proteins which trigger our body and hence create immunity in our body. One such example of these vaccines is the COVID-19 vaccine. Coming forward, we have the vaccination slots we go through. When a baby is born until the 12th month, the types of vaccine he or she receives. One such when he is born, he or she receives is the BCG vaccine, which protects them from diphtheria, jaundice, polio, etc. Next up, we have the important vaccines, their doses and their storage in the case of epidemic. We all must be vaccinated till now, and we know the vaccines that are currently being used in India is the COVID-19 vaccine, the COVID Shield, the Covaxin, and we are also hearing that Sputnik V and Pfizer are also coming in India, which will be more effective. Talking about the current ones, the COVID Shield and the Covaxin have to be stored in a temperature of 2 to 8 degrees centigrade. If we store them at the temperature below or more than this, they surely lose their effectability.
Our government is organizing many type of drives, campaigns, posters, so that they create enthusiasm among people to get vaccinated. Such are these two posters which I am showing here, like they are being used currently in India for motivating people to get vaccinated. Coming to the conclusion, I would only like to say that vaccination plays an important role in our life now. Today, after 10 years or any time, vaccination still holds an important place in our lives. And now, after this pandemic, it is very important to get vaccinated. Tell your dear and near ones who have not got their shot to get it as soon as possible, because it is the responsibility of every individual to create awareness. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah. Keeping in mind the current situation and the pandemic, your talk on the awareness of vaccines has been important to all of us. Next, we have Prakhar Rajastogi from Rajajipuram Campus 1 to speak on the topic, India in an Aging World, an Overview. This talk will unveil the upcoming perspectives of future India and how economic growth will be affected in the next 20 years. It revolves around the progress and development that India will make in the coming years and how the youth of India will be a ladder to it.
Important thing is that we must be constantly moving forward. Yes, the progressive realization of predetermined goal and our growth should never end. India in its 7th decade of independence is on the verge of major change. To realize this, India needs to view its economic and social challenges as opportunities for growth. Where do you see India in next 20 years? India has about 62.5% of its population in the age group of 15 to 60 years. India has one of the youngest population in an aging world. These population parameters indicate existence of demographic dividend in India, which started back in 2005 and will last till 2050. India's demographic dividend is one of the most talked topics in the World Economic Forums for past few years. Now you must be thinking, what is demographic dividend? Demographic dividend, as defined by United Nations Population Fund, is economic growth potential that results from shift in population's age structure, mainly when the share of working population is larger than the non-working share of population. We have the youngest workforce and we will hold this advantage till 2050. That's on the top of massive development taking place in India right before us. Historically, demographic dividend has contributed up to 15% of overall growth in advanced economies, with several Asian nations as well. Japan, Thailand, South Korea, and more recently China, taking advantage of this in its rapid growth. I look at the year 2030 and I see India may lead in almost every category. The most populous nation, the most college graduates, the largest middle class, the most internet and cell phone users, the 3rd largest economy and 3rd largest military, all coexisting in the world's largest democracy, with more than 600 million people under the age of 28 years. Better economic growth brought by increased economic activities due to lower dependent population and increased in working population will channelize increased workforce, increase in physical space, rise in women's workforce, increase in savings, which will ultimately lead to rise in investments. That's why about $2 trillion will be spent on infrastructure in next decade, and bulk of 2030 infrastructure is yet to be built. And around 100 airports are planned or constructed just today alone. We have the world at our fingertips. Our nation will have leading seat in international institutions. Our businesses will continue to power economic growth and innovations globally, and we have the choice what role we want to play today for better tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Very well said, Prakhar. Your views on the economic growth of India have enlightened us all this evening. Coming up next, we have Arnav Mishra from Kanpur Road to expand on the topic, psychology, no limits when you believe in yourself. Now, doubting yourself is what limits you from achieving success. So remove the self-doubt, start believing in yourself, and you will achieve something you never thought to be possible. No limits defined when you believe in yourself.
Roy T. Bennett once said, I quote, "Don't let others tell you what you can do. Don't let the limitations of others limit your vision. If you can remove your self-doubt and believe in yourself, you can achieve what you never thought possible. I have a question for you all. How many people out there who don't believe in themselves end up failing in what they want to achieve and have to settle for something less? Well, probably many. What do they lack? Self-belief. Let me tell you a story of a man who, though as a child was scared of water, but now is the greatest swimmer of all time, the one and only Michael Phelps. It's a story from his mid-career. In 2004 Athens Olympics, he lost to Eon Thorpe, a that time legend, in an event by a half a meter. He was in anguish, but he decided he would break his record in the next Olympics. Also, after some time in a press conference, he declared in front of the whole world that he would win straight 8 gold medals in the Beijing Olympics, for which he was often targeted as it was seemed to be something impossible. But he believed in himself and started training. While training, he met an unfortunate accident. His shoulder got injured. Doctor said that he won't be able to participate in the Beijing Olympics. He was devastated, but as he had declared in front of the whole world, he could not back down. So he motivated himself. He believed in himself. He said, I will not be stopped. I can do it, and started training his legs for 1 year. After that, when his shoulders recovered, he trained his arms too. As a result, his legs got so strong that no swimmer at the Olympics was even able to match his kick power, and eventually he went on to win 8 gold medals. In 2016 Rio Olympics, he ended his swimming campaign with 23 golds, 3 silvers and 2 bronze, a total tally of 28 medals in just 4 Olympics, and became the most successful and the most decorated swimmer of all time. So what do we get from this? That if you believe in yourself, you can achieve boundless success. Obliterate negative thoughts. See an opportunity in any problem. If you believe in yourself, you will be unstoppable. Believe in yourself. You are more talented than you know, capable of more than you can imagine. Only one star is enough to pierce the darkness of the universe. Only one ray of self-belief is enough to cross the hurdles of your path. I'll end by saying, believe in yourself and get up, as your future is brighter than your past. Get up, as your latter is greater than your former. I want everyone watching this to get up, as the best is still yet to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Arnav. The story you included in your TED Talk has inspired us all, and we promise to never limit ourselves from our full potentials. Next up, we have Kaustav Dwivedi from RDSO to enumerate on some points on mental health. Mental health in today's world is as important as physical health. Mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we think, feel, and act, how we handle stress, relate to others, and make choices are the basic ingredients for our mental well-being. Mental health is important at every stage of life, from childhood and adolescence to adulthood. Thank you.
Today I am here to talk about mental health, or to be more precise, mental disorders. There are many kinds of mental disorders. Most of the people in fact are affected by some or the other kind of mental disorders. Mental disorders are, well, for example, there are anxiety disorders, and one of the most, if not the most common one, depression, bipolar disorders, extreme depression from extreme anger, and there are eating disorders, and of course post traumatic stress disorder, or more commonly known as PTSD. Most of the people have that. There are many causes, some of them which can be like family history or genetics. Some mental disorders can be caused by some mental disorders are hereditary. Life experiences. Some experiences from our life can cause us to have some mental illnesses, like PTSD, for example. Of course, it's not necessarily our fault that we have mental illnesses. For example, what if our mother got infected by some virus or came in contact with any toxic substance when we were in her womb or when she was pregnant with us? 50% of the mental illnesses are caused or begin to develop by the age of 14, and 3/4 of them are developed by the age of 24. symptoms. There are many symptoms, not necessarily these, but all people have mood swings at least once or twice every day. But if you have more than once, more than the usual amount, that is a problem. If you feel disconnected to reality, or if you feel like you'd rather be in a book or a movie or something like that than in real world, or you have a sense of unreality, that is also one of the symptoms of having mental illness. Well, it's not necessary that if you have these symptoms then you have to have mental illnesses. Mental illnesses can be caused by a number of factors. For example, if you had a rough childhood, right? If you were abused as a child, had a single parent, or were left alone, all alone, that can cause mental illnesses, depression. Some experiences can cause you to have traumas or like such things. If you fell off a swing, then you'll be afraid of swings. If you fell off a bicycle, you will be afraid of bicycles. If you cut yourself with a knife, well, you will be afraid of knives. Those are traumatic experiences.
Thank you, Kaustubh. Your words on mental health have made a significant contribution to this informative session. Our last speaker for today is Narayan Srivastava from Aliganj 1 to speak on the topic, the reason why every word matters. The word we choose to say or the way we choose to represent ourselves matters. Both our words and our non-verbal actions hold a lot of power, more than we probably even realize. I quote, "Words have energy and power with the ability to help, to heal, to hinder, to hurt, to harm, to humiliate, and to humble." Unquote.
Growing up, I have to confess, I was never the scientist, engineer, or doctor that Indian parents want their kids to be. Truth be told, science used to be the last thing in the world that I cared about or showed interest in. But still looking back, one of the things which did fascinate me a lot was transfer of data and information. I still remember being 12 years old, sending random messages from one phone to the other, only to see the magic of science. So I did some research, found out that it was an Italian inventor, Guglielmo Marconi, who was behind this invention in the 1890s. But it was only a couple of years ago that I realized that data transfer has been happening on Earth thousands of years before that. Now, if you're wondering how's that possible, just like I was, look around you. You and I sitting here are just like two computers exchanging information through a network of air vibrations and a couple of our organs. The only difference between a computer and us is that no one, and absolutely no one, can ever know what is going on up here in your mind. No one. The entire perception of who you are lies in how you express yourself. This is why words have power. Their meaning crystallizes perception that shapes our beliefs, drives our behavior, and ultimately ends up creating our world. I recently started studying psychology, and one of the first things that my teacher told me were the concepts of consciousness and subconsciousness. And I found that the words we speak can affect our own mental health in ways we can't even imagine. The truth is that if due to every small inconvenience in our highly privileged lives, we are going to Instagram to express about how ruined my life is or someone find me the will to live, well, chances are it might actually end up happening, because today's manifestation is the reality of tomorrow. I myself was going through one of the darkest times a couple of years ago, and now that I look back at it, I realized that it was because I was constantly trapped in my own cycle of questioning my capabilities and reminding myself that I'm not good enough. And now, 3 years later, the reason why I can flawlessly manage to excel in my studies and extracurriculum, along with being the founder of an environmental organization at just the age of 16, is because every single day I wake up and remind myself of just two things. I can and I will. Watch me. I finally learned that in a world where I can be anything, I might not be the Katy Perry of pop music. I might not be the J.K. Rowling of fiction, and I might not be the Serena Williams of tennis. But I can choose to be kind to myself and to the world through my words. In conclusion, I want all of you sitting here to imagine the number of people who would have made it to the very top if they wouldn't have given up. Seems a lot, right? Now I want you to imagine the number of people who wouldn't have given up if someone was there to look them in the eye and tell them, yes, I believe in you. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the reason why every word matters. Thank you.
Thank you, Narayan. Your TED talk was beautifully put together. Over to Ayushi.
We are fortunate to have we are fortunate to have Geeta Gandhi ma'am amidst us. Ma'am is the president and the chief and the managing director of City Montessori School. Every time when ma'am comes among us, she leaves us in awe and wonder. She forces us to think beyond the box and read between the lines. Her insights are very pragmatic and worth your 100% attention. Every time she enriches us and teaches us a new perspective. Now, I would like to invite ma'am to address the students.
Thank you very much for such a most generous introduction. And you know, it is very difficult to do justice to such an introduction. And the expectations are raised so high as a result of such a generous expectation that I am absolutely bound to disappoint. Having said that, it has been a pleasure. I hope I'm audible. Okay. Because it's saying that my internet connection is unstable, but I hope I continue to be audible. But it has been an absolute pleasure. Although I have not shown my face very much, I have been hearing the talks in the background. And, you know, I felt that you people have expressed yourselves with, you know, sharpness. That means whatever idea it is that you have sought to convey and elaborate upon, you have presented it with sharp logic. You have presented it with concision. That means you've been concise and, you know, parsimonious in your delivery. You've not dilated the matter. You've not gone beyond your time. In a small amount of time, you have tried to address the topic as persuasively, as convincingly as you possibly could. And I felt that many of you made quite persuasive arguments. I could also see formidable self-confidence. I would say in some cases, disconcertingly confident young people. I would have had nerves standing up on the stage and speaking in the way that you were. It was, you know, it was, I presume it was recorded, but howsoever it was just awesome level of. Another thing I felt is that you were critical thinkers. You see, in order to prepare any of these topics, none of these topics are really sort of the textbook stereotype material that you could have lifted from a textbook. It's, I think, almost entirely your original thought. I rate that very highly. I think you all in the audience, those who haven't spoken perhaps, would also rate that very highly. There's no accolade, there's no really, one cannot give a lot of respect if people are just lifting material that somebody else has written and just, you know, stating that. What's attractive, what's interesting, what's engaging is if a person, if the thoughts that are being expressed are the person's own thoughts. It's a little bit of them. And that was very clear because you see the body language, the lilt of the voice, the expressions on the face, everything tells a person whether something is rehearsed and you know, rote learned, compared with if it is your own thinking, the product of your own thinking. And I felt that it was absolutely a product of your own thinking. As I heard Dr. Sunita Gandhi say, the passion with which you were speaking showed that you had, these were your thoughts, and that you were trying to persuade others to your viewpoint. Now, you see, these are the markers of a leader. Ultimately, people who have an opinion, and you showed that you had an opinion. It perhaps was a topic of your own choice, but you showed critical thinking, and you showed application of your thinking to a particular question in hand, a particular topic in hand. It showed that you prepared your material to fit in a particular time. There's something magic that happens when you go on stage to present your ideas. And the magic, you see, the reason why I know about it is because I, as an academic, also make presentations. My presentations are at conferences. It doesn't matter where they are. The point is that I have to stand at a podium or in an online event, and I have to deliver something. And I think what happens what I feel when I deliver something like that is something very valuable. What I think, if I was to put a finger on why it is valuable to take part in such platforms, to be on such platforms, I think the reason is this, that when you're going to be on such a platform, before you go to such a platform, you have to do a lot of thinking. That gives you sharpness and logic. You hone your logic. You perfect your logic. You say the same thing to yourself 100 times in order to convince yourself that what you're going to say is going to be impactful, right? And that discipline of going through that process of preparing something which you have to present to somebody else, or you have to persuade other people to your view, that discipline is what increases the sharpness of the logic. That increases your own clarity. And in fact, it increases your own self-belief in what you're going to be saying. And that is what makes it persuasive when you're on the stage or when you're recording yourself. And another thing, when you present something, even as you're presenting it, you'll find at the end of it, you find that you got more clarity about the topic that you were presenting. It's funny how these are your thoughts, you've read them 100 times, and yet when you present it, it's like a teacher. Often teachers will tell you that even though they've taught a particular material many times over the years, in a particular class, they found a new insight. So this is what I mean when I say that there's a magic about presenting on such a forum. So I would like to congratulate all those young people who had the courage and the passion to come forward. They may not always have had the confidence, but they overcame their hesitation, their reservation, their shyness, and put themselves forward. And you are such excellent role models for your fellow students back in your respective campuses. I would like very much to congratulate Senior Principal of CMS Gomti Nagar Extension, Ms. Manjeet Batra, the formidable principal who's legendary among principals in the country as a whole. And I'd like to congratulate Mrs. Sangeeta Banerjee, in her own right, a formidable principal and one who has helped to take CMS Gomti Nagar Extension to great heights. I'd like to thank both of these leaders and congratulate them for organizing such a beautiful event. I'd like to thank the anchor, the person who conceived of the event, the senior teachers of this campus. And I think that it's a wonderful thing that every single campus was invited to send a student, and a huge amount of learning will have happened. I hope, students, you agree with me that taking part in such things is just a great opportunity that you've availed. And I hope you'll continue to do that. The width of the topics was amazing. From science to mental health and vaccines to self-esteem, you could say psychology topics, science topics, social science topics, concern, for example, the topic of the demographic dividend, a whole range of dopamine, reason why every word matters. All of these topics were very engaging, very interestingly presented. So thank you for making me a part of it. Thank you so much for your invitation to be here. I enjoyed it very much.
Thank you, ma'am, for being so appreciative and giving your insightful comments. We are truly enriched. Now, without labor, nothing prospers, and hard work betrays none. Senior Principal Ma'am is always appreciative and generous. She always listens to us and guides us. She is the epitome of commitment and dedication. She is a woman of substance, and her enthusiasm adds beauty to any and every event organized by the Extension campus. Now, I would like to invite Ma'am Batra for the vote of thanks.
Thank you very much. A very good evening and Jai Jagat to all present here. As I stand before you, I take this opportunity to express my gratitude to all the people associated with this grand event. The event was first introduced in 2019 when Ms. Tulika Chatterjee, our ex-counselor, and Mrs. Indrani Chandra, our ISC English teacher, took this initiative to form TED-Ed Club at CMS Gomti Nagar Extension. The club got rolling with the students of the senior section of CMS Gomti Nagar Extension and Cambridge section, and the first ever TED-Ed happened in the International Environment Olympiad in 2019. This event is now being taken forward by our ISC English teacher, Ms. Prerna Raj. What you witnessed today was an eloquent round of speaking by the students of various campuses of CMS. I thank each of the participants for speaking so well. Their well-researched speeches bear testimony to the fact that they are so concerned about their surroundings and their future. I extend my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Sunita Gandhi, our eminent guest for this occasion. Her valuable suggestions made the event even more interesting. My sincere thanks goes to Mr. R.K. Singh and his entire team for their technical support. I would like to thank Mr. Kaushlen Singh for his untiring efforts to make this event a grand success. At CMS, we are very fortunate to have mentors in the form of Dr. Jagdish Gandhi, Dr. Mrs. Bharti Gandhi, Dr. Geeta Gandhi Kingdom, and Mr. Roshan Gandhi. My profound thanks to Mrs. Sushmita Basu for ever-inspiring support for all our events. I thank each one of them for their extreme support and confidence that they have on us. A big, big thank you to the principal, Mrs. Sangeeta Banerjee, who goes an extra mile to oversee things and adds a personal touch to all the events. Last but not the least, I extend a sincere thanks to Ms. Prerna Raj, along with the comparing team comprising of Ayushi, Amishi, and Ananya Jori. A big, big thank you to everybody and Jai Jagat. I hope you all enjoyed the event. Thank you very much.
Record